Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be another in my RHCE practice session series where I'm preparing for the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam. I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone who has not subscribed yet to click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do so you can be aware of when new content comes available. Also, if you enjoy this video or find the content useful, make sure you do click like and feel free to share with others who might also find the content useful. For this video, I'm going to continue with the objective group Use Ansible modules for system administration tasks that work with, and then whatever option that is, and we'll be looking at the file content for this. I do want to remind you that this is not intended to be authoritative information, nor is it intended to be a tutorial, but rather it's an opportunity for me to talk about the objective and try to do some examples of it for purposes of doing a self-assessment. And ideally at the end of the video I will be able to talk intelligently about the objective and do some examples without having to rely too much on documentation, of which that would tell me that on the exam if I encounter some tasks that deal with the objective, then I should do pretty well with that. Otherwise, at the end of the video, I'll take note of what I need to prepare a bit more on, because I have the exam in just under 2 weeks, so not enough time to completely learn something new, which at this point I'm not, completely clueless on stuff, but enough time to brush up on some things if I have some knowledge gaps. That being said, I do try to have the information as accurate as possible. So file content, there are a couple of modules that come to mind that can work with file content, and they are both the copy module, line in file, and block in file. So I have my RHEL workstation here, so let's work with the copy command first. So copy works two ways. One is literally copying files to where they need to go. In some of my previous videos, I used the copy module to copy the public key for SSH to the authorized keys file on another server. You can also use copy to do some little kind of short one-liners of text. So let's make a playbook here. We'll call it copy test. Name will be working with the copy module. Host, we'll do this on lab 02. Give 01 a bit of a break. We're not going to need to become for this because I'm going to just copy stuff to the temp directory, and we'll have our tasks. All right, so name, copy some text. So copy module. And rather than give it a source, we can simply say content, and then we can give a line of content. So this is a test line. The destination is going to be temp copy test.txt, and I don't think we need to do state for that. And that should be it. So let's run this playbook here. I realize I'm on the wrong server. I'm on AN01. No wonder I'm not getting my Ansible command. So let's remove this here, and let's get back to our Ansible control node. So sudo sul ans, I'm still on AN01. I must have SSH'd into the wrong thing when I was preparing for the video. Well, that's a bit embarrassing. ANCTL, and we'll go into our Ansible account. Okay, this should work better. So vi copy test.yml, working with the copy module, host lab rel AN02, tasks, name, trying copy. All right, so content, again, we'll just do a little sentence here, and destination going to be temp and copy test.txt, and that should be all we need. Now let's try to run the playbook. All right, so we got changed for that. Let's run it again. We should have okay because it's not going to need to make that happen anymore. All right, and if I were to do an ad hoc command here, Ansible lab rel AN02, we're just going to cat temp copy test. I'm not having to specify a module because by default, just feeding this arguments, it will default to using the command module. All right. Well, that was unexpected, because I expected there to be a copy test.txt unless I made a mistake there. So let's take a look at our playbook. Yep, tmp copy test.txt. Realize what I did there. Let's go to the right server. There we go. This is a test line and it's there. Now, the thing about the copy module is I do not believe it will produce a directory tree for you. Like the directory that you're wanting to basically copy this text to needs to be there. So just to test that out real quick, and I'll show you what it will do if you try to do that without it. Let's add another directory here, tmp2, and let's see what happens. And as I suspected, destination directory does not exist. So in this situation, you would need to use something like the file module to make your directory already exist, and then work with your copy module to be able to do that. Now you can do multiple lines with the copy command if I am correct. So let's go back to copy test, and we are going to remove this extra directory. And for content, so I'm going to use a couple of characters here. The first I'm going to use is the pipe character. And what this is going to do is tell Ansible to create the lines as you see them. So this is I'll change this to second test line, third test line, and this is a fourth test line. All right, so let's try this out here. All right, so we got it changed, and let us Ansible labrel an02-a, and we'll cat tmp copy test.txt and see what we get this time. Now this is curious. It overwrote what it did before. That I wasn't quite expecting. So I guess that's a behavior to keep track of with copy. I might have to look at the documentation on that to see if that is an intended thing. And I guess that makes sense because it's like make me a file, and this file needs to have this content. And so the file that's there doesn't have this content, so it replaces it. That's probably what's going on. Now let me go back into copy test, and we're going to change this from the pipe to what would be content redirection. And let's see what happens. Oops. Let me actually run the playbook, and then we'll see what happens. So we get changed, and now we'll do our ad hoc command. And now notice that it's all on one line. So the takeaway from that is the fact that the pipe will create the content as you have it with your line breaks and such, versus the redirect symbol or greater than symbol is going to concatenate everything into one big line, just as if it was just one line. Now, another module for working with lines in a file is going to be the line and file module. So since we now have a file that has a couple of lines in it, let's change the name of what we're working with here. Line and file, line in file. Okay, now I've used the line and file module on several videos, and so we're going to work with it a little bit more. And there's something I'm going to test with this because I had a behavior that I wasn't quite expecting in a previous video, and I want to verify some things here. So line and file. And the way the line and file module works, its goal is to replace text that doesn't need to be there, or if a text is missing, to add it to the file. So line and file, I'm just going to put line, and this is a line and file test. We have the path to the file, and that is temp copy test.txt, and then we have state. And we want this to be present. So we'll do our copy test here, and let's see what happens. All right, so we got changed. We expect that. We're going to run this one more time, and I'm going to see if we get it changed or if we get an OK. We should get an OK because that line is already there. And if we run our ad hoc command, we see that it appended that this is a line and file test, right? So let's do this with absent. So what should happen is it's going to read the file, and then it's going to say, hey, this line is here. It shouldn't be. Let me take it away. Oh, I just did the ad hoc command again by accident. I'm getting lazy and just pressing up rather than typing out the commands. All right, so we get it changed, and let's take a look at the result. And so as expected, that line simply went away. So I'm going to, we're going to use something a little bit different here. So let's do, I'm going to use the copy command one more time. And what I'm going to do, we'll just use the playbook for this. Copy test. Because what I want is to have a block of text and then the line and file. So actually we'll just do the super shorthand way of doing this. Content, use the pipe. This is a test line. I'm not sure if we can do this without the extra indentation. If I have time in this video, I might test that out, but I've always done it with the indentation. So what should happen here is the copy command is going to say, hey, there's not a file by this name that has this stuff, and basically overwrite that, and then line and file is going to add this line. Or actually, need to change that back to present for it to add the line. I keep just rerunning that ad hoc command instead of getting back to my playbook. All right, so let us cat our file. Okay, and that's what I wanted to see. The 3 lines from copy, and then this is a line in file test. Now there is another commandlet called block in file, and its job is to make a block of text appear or not appear. So let us edit our copy test.yml. I'm going to get rid of the copy there. We'll keep that as present because that shouldn't change anything. And we're going to call this trying block in file. Now one thing you can, I believe, set permissions and such with line and file and block in file. If you're making your item and the permissions need to be set to a particular thing, you can take care of that with this. So block in file, what I have used of it is pretty similar. The fact that we're going to have block, and we'll do this block with multiple lines. Here's the block in file example. Here's another block in file example. And the path is going to be temp copytest.txt, and we want this block to be present. And let's see what happens. All right, so we got an OK for line and file because that's there, and then it changed for block and file. So we'll run our ad hoc command here, and notice that it added the begin Ansible managed block. There is a setting in the Ansible configuration file, I believe, that allows you to change this. So let's cat etsy ansible.cfg. Oh, etsy ansible, then ansible.cfg, and there should be, probably should have used grep for this, a that sets that. All right, we're going to use grep. grep-i block. There's nothing in there. I thought there was. Basically what this does is in your text file, it's going to give you, this is managed by Ansible. So, I'm going to have to look that up. That's something I'll need to add to my little list because I know there's a way to configure what you have as the little message of managed by Ansible. I'm just not sure where that was. I thought there was something in the ansible.cfg, and there probably is. I'm just not finding it now. One thing I do want to try, though, is we're going to make a small change here. And let's see what happens to our file. What I wonder is if it's going to completely replace the block, or is it going to give us another block that has the little change in it. So let's see what happens. Okay, so what it did was for the managed block that's there, it simply made the change to the block itself rather than adding a completely different block. So I'm going to do one other test. That's kind of good to know. That's how that behaves. So we're going to yank, what's that, 6 lines, 6YY. We'll paste that underneath here. And let's see what happens. So I just made one character change. And what I think, based off of what we saw with the other, we're going to end up with still that one managed block of text, but it's going to equal whatever is in the last. So let's see. Yep. So that's what's going to happen. The block and file is only going to work with that particular block of text. Now let's try one other thing. I'm pretty sure this is going to fail. We're going to get rid of our block and files here. And what we're going to do with our line is see if we can make this be multiple lines here. And I don't think this is going to work because line and file specifically is for dealing with single lines. Pretty sure it's going to complain to me. I think I've seen it before, but this is one of these things I like. Fenced. We'll keep it. This is one of the things I like to do when I am studying is just try to break stuff because you can learn some from your error messages and such. Okay, so I think I see what happened there. Let's cat our... Okay, so it did put both. That's kind of odd. I was expecting that to error out. Either way, if you're working with more than a single line, then I would definitely use the block and file. Now the last thing that or not the last thing, there's a couple things I want to mention. I'm not going to work with templates in this video because there's a separate objective that's coming down soon about templates. But if you're working with things like configuration files and such, where you might actually want to replace the whole thing with what you want versus just altering some lines or altering a block of text in a file, then that would be the best way to go, using templates. But this is specifically just about content of the file, so that's why I'm restricting it to these couple of modules. The thing I wanted to work with, though, was regular expressions. Now, I'll be the first to tell you I am not a master of regular expressions. I have some basic understanding of stuff, and what I want to do is test a couple of things that I noticed from the other video that I did. And I now see what that warning is. I had two paths there. So line and file still did this. All right, cool. I would probably still use block and file though for that. But what I want to do is make a little test here. And we're going to do RHCE for regular expression. And I'm looking for a line that begins with test. I'm not sure if I have to put that in quotes or not. Actually, I'm going to try it without the quotes. And if things that begin with test are present, what I want to do is replace that with line replaced by line in file. Now I'm also going to add one other option, and that is backup yes. So let me show you what's going to happen there. As far as behavior, I think this is going to do nothing because there are no lines that actually begin with test. So let's see if that is what occurs. So Ansible playbook, copy test. So we did get a change, and that's probably because it made the backup file. So let's cat copy test, see what's left. All right, so we still have replaced by line and file, but nothing was actually changed. So we might need to consult the manual document for that. But the thing I wanted to show you that's special, we're going to ls temp, is this file here, this copy text, and then all of this other stuff. If you set backup to yes, it will create a backup copy of whatever is going to be altered. And the idea here is if you completely, screw something up, you have at least a copy of your file to put back in place. What I don't know is a good programmatic way to go back and say, hey, revert the file, which with Ansible, that's probably not going to occur. So you would probably have to find a way to get the contents of this file and then, maybe copy that to, I guess I could do like an ls thing and get what this file would be and then copy and use the copy module to copy it back. Perhaps. I'm not going to do that in this video. It's a little bit beyond the scope of what I'm wanting to do, but I did want to show you how that backup works. And there are several modules that have it. I think the mount module has it. I know block and file, line and file have it. Maybe the copy file. Not 100% sure on that one, but we can check the documentation if we wanted to. But I am curious about the replace by line and file. So let's take a look at the Ansible doc for line and file, and let's see what it says about how the regular expression works. The reason why I'm curious about this, I did another video where basically line and file wiped out my etcfs tab, much to my surprise. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. So regex, regular expression will look for in every line of a file for state present. If the pattern is found, only the last line found will be replaced. Okay. For state absent, pattern of lines to remove. All right. If regular expression. Okay, so that makes sense. Will be added in the file, keeping with insert before, insert after settings. So what it did was say, hey, I didn't find anything with this, so I'm just going to add the file. Now notice this here at the bottom talks about initial and state line after that. So we have the ensure idempotence. That makes sense. And we'll test that in just a moment. But this insert before, insert after. Let me take a look here. So if specified, it will the line will be inserted after the last match of regular expression. If the specified regular expression does not exist, end of file will be used instead. So it's inserting after end of file. And for insert before, all right, if specified regular expression, no matches, and we're not explicitly saying that insert after and insert before state is present or used with state present. Okay, so based off of this, that makes perfect sense. That's what we want. So now let me cat my file again. I want to see what we have here. Okay, so replace by line in file. So now what I want to do, so this is one of these things here. We're going to replace lines that begin with this. So let us go back to our copy. I'm going to change test to this. Okay, searching for this. And we'll keep the backup there. And let's see what happens. All right, let's cat our file. All right, so it changed the third one. And that makes sense, I believe, because from the documentation, let's double check here. Look at regex. So replace the pattern if found, only the last line found will be replaced. So I wonder how that would work if you wanted to replace all instances of this. I think that's where block and file would come into play as well. And yeah, for the idempotent, then we want to ensure that, let's see, when modifying, to really match both the initial state of the line as well as its state after line to ensure idempotency. Yeah, because otherwise, let's run this here, run the playbook again. We're going to get another changed, and it's going to change the second line. Cat our file. Yep, and it changed the second line. So now we're going to try this idea of trying to stay idempotent. And so what we're going to do is change the regex to, I think maybe do this as a list. I'm not sure. This actually is something I haven't tried. So this is going to be begins with replaced, and the line that we are going to the line we're going to change is changed by line, changes by line in file. And we'll do add another in the list here, and this will be, so I'll put this in quotes, changes by line in file. Let's see what happens here. Of course, I just did the ad hoc command. That's not going to do much of anything for us. So let's see what the result was of that. So it didn't find anything. So one thing that I definitely need to do, actually there's a changes by line in file. So that didn't match anything, and that would make sense because of obviously, you know, the regular expression of just changes by line in file did not match anything at the time. So that does make sense as far as why we have changes by line in file at the very end of the file. But one thing I am going to need to go over, I need to do some practicing with regular expressions and practicing trying to make this be idempotent, because I don't know, but I would imagine on the exam, as we write whatever playbooks that we need to write to do the objectives, they're going to want those playbooks to be idempotent. So that's definitely something that I need to spend some more time on between now and the test on August 13th. There is one thing I did want to try, and that is trying to replicate what I had with the RHCE tab. So what I'm going to do is, so I think what it was, what did I change? It was like UUID. So we're going to do begins with replace. Oh, it was an entire line. That was it. All right, so that's what I did. Copy. And what I did for the regular expression was put the entire line in there, and let's see what happens. I did the ad hoc command again. By the time I get up there, it'd be faster just to type the command itself. Sometimes you get lazy though. All right, so that changed. Okay, so it did what I expected. It found the line, and there would have been two matches, judging by this, and it changed. So I don't know what happened with the RHCE tab. Maybe I used the wrong module for it. I might have to go back and check out that video to see what I did. But I would say for the objective, I would consider myself a pass with it. Not passing with flying colors, but managing text, I was able to do that with line and file and block and file. Discovered a couple of things as far as behavior that I simply hadn't seen before, just because I hadn't messed with it as much as I probably should have. But one thing I do need to spend the time on is working with some regular expression examples, in particular with ensuring idempotence on the line and file module. So I think overall worthwhile on this, and it was a useful practice session. If you yourself enjoyed it or found it useful, make sure you do click like on the video. And again, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.